And we are live. We finally did it. We are here. Everything seems to be in place in order. I am super excited. I cannot contain it. I don't know what to say. I can't believe this is actually coming to fruition, you guys. Get used to it because these awkward introductions are not going away anytime soon. But hello there, internet land, TTRPG land, and welcome to the brand new campaign here on Halfling Wizard Productions. I am your game master, Mikey, and joined with me this evening are some of my players in what I think is going to be a lot of fun. What TTRPG are we playing? Well, I will get to that in a little bit. But like I said, I am joined by half of my players this evening. And, you know, some of these faces you have seen many a times before here on Halfling Wizard Productions, but I would like to give them a chance to introduce themselves. So, first up, with the man with the plan, or half the plan, I should say, is Mr. Connor himself. Connor, how are you tonight, my
That's
friend?
that's a lot of pressure to put on someone who has no plan and will continue to have no plan. Hi, I'm Connor. I'm doing great. I'm super excited to be here and be a part of this game and to bring about some character stuff. Love me some session zeros, and I'm very much looking forward to this one. So, thank you. I have my special blue light glasses on, so I don't hurt my brains, and I'm just very
Yes.
excited.
Ugh. The internet is a beautiful thing, but blue light will also be the death of many eyeballs. And then, of course, rounding out this evening in terms of players is a longtime friend of mine. As you know, been through the ups and downs, have seen many iteration of D&D characters and shenanigans. But Mr. Chris, how are we this evening, my friend?
I am doing just fantastic. I can't wait to get into yet another fun TTRPG, especially out here. And especially with you. It's been a while since we've gotten a chance to play a game. So I am really excited to hop right back into this with you. So, really excited about this game.
I'm super excited as well. And we are missing two of our players this evening, but fret not, my friends, that because everybody will be reunited once we kick off this adventure proper. Andrew and JT, if you are watching this evening, we miss you. I cannot wait, especially Andrew, me and you already did character creation, so I'm not going to fill these guys in until the first session to figure out what's about to go down, and I think it's going to be fun. But with all the introductions out of the way, let's just jump into it. So, what exactly are we playing for this entire campaign? Well, I am glad that you asked. So, a little bit of a backstory. I'm a TTRPG fiend, nerd, professor, connoisseur, collector of all sorts of things. I'm telling you, pandemic really turned us a lot into TTRPG fans because we were stuck inside our houses with nothing left to do, and I had some decent internet and a laptop. So I made some friends on the internet, played some Dungeons and Dragons with them, started collecting a variety of TTRPGs, and fast forward to now, we are here, and I am writing this game. I have a notebook, but I don't have a plan, you guys. I don't know. This is going to be fantastic. But thankfully, I can be a procrastinator and push off the actual story later because tonight we are here to do our character creation for one of my personal favorite new games here, the QUEERZ RPG, which is by the same studio that has done City of Mist. So we're going to be using those mechanics. Trust me, all the stuff is available through Drive Through RPG. I recommend highly checking out the free, not priced, but free demo of this TTRPG to see if it's for you. So this particular TTRPG is going to be very interesting because it is more storytelling and cinematic based than dice mechanics, which is crazy. Story and TTRPGs, who knew, ladies and gentlemen, and non-binary folks of the internet land? I'm so excited. I've been sitting on this for 3 months now, working behind the scenes, getting players, all that kind of stuff. But it is going to be a fantastic. Alrighty. So now that I've gotten all the nerves for the most part out of the way with the introductions, let's get into the meat and potatoes of tonight, which is character creation. So tonight I am going to walk Connor and Chris through their character creations of their characters, and we're just gonna have some fun. So if you enjoy watching character mechanics, character creation, like crazy ideas of when and stuff, you get to see this live because normally these types of things happen behind, closed doors, and we just premiere the characters as they are. But I was thinking to myself, I think character creation as our session zero is great because then we get to have a better understanding of where your minds are at when it comes to characters. And also, we're going to make fools of ourselves tonight because it's going to be so much fun. So, my players, if you would be so kind, I will direct you to the creator guide for tonight. So, we are going to start there. And as you guys get to there, we are going to be starting on page 8 in the creator guide. So, as my players get there, what I'm going to be doing is our character creation tonight is going to be divided into two parts. First part is going to be building our team's house, so to speak, slash base, and what the team stands for. And then we get into the fun part, which is individual character creation. Prior to this session, I did allow my players to kind of peruse the creator guide, kind of get a feel of what everything's about to go down. And I also gave them options in case they wanted to use some pre made characters as well that came with the game. There's, I believe, 10 or 12 pre-made characters, which are also fantastic. And if those that get made, don't worry, because I will find a way to include them into our actual campaign, which is going to be great. Now, let us begin. So, part one of character creation is we are going to kind of choose a concept for our game, as well as determine what kind of house that our players are. So, starting with the series concept. So, the first thing that we need to decide as a group, and lucky enough for Connor and Chris, they get the same power of what goes on in terms of house. And by the way, these two, JT and Andrew, have already gave me their blessing. They are full on board whatever you two decide, and they are ready for it. So this is going to be
They will
fun.
regret it. No, I'm kidding.
Yeah, that's a bad idea.
Forget
Okay.
them. I might regret it. No, I'm just kidding.
You sure
I
will.
regret nothing. But when it comes to a series concept, we're kind of picking like what kind of trope or feel we want our game to go. And so fun fact, so as we go through character creation, for those of you who are not familiar with some of the terminology that will be used tonight, we're also going to give a little bit of a history lesson because this game does a really good job of balancing TTRPG mechanics and also a little bit of learning lesson about the community that this game is based off of as well. So the reason that our team is going to be called a house is that the term house stems from 1940s Harlem, you know, during the Renaissance, the Harlem Renaissance, if you will, and the term originated from the Upper Manhattan neighborhoods in New York City and was used by Black and Latin queer people who kind of come together for found family. I know it's very overused, but if you are familiar with the TV show Pose, that is the perfect example of what house culture is like. Just during that time period of history, individuals of the queer community coming together for a found family kind of situation. And thus, our characters and our players will be creating their own house this evening to kind of figure out who they are, what they represent, what they focus on, and things like that. Again, I'm going to be doing a lot of talking with the history lesson and mechanics, so bear with me. I will be doing less of that when we start the game. But boys, I believe so. We are going to figure out what kind of house we want to have for our game. So if you take a look starting on page 8 and going through 9 and 10 and 11, these are a couple of examples of what kind of house we could be doing. So we have Super Sentais, which is basically Power Rangers, but make it gayer, if you will, or queer, I should say. You have one of my personal favorites. We could be a house of drag, which is fantastic. Environmental Guardians, High School LGBTQ Straight Alliance. So you could be high school students if you want. Magical Scouts a la Sailor Moon. um, Music Defenders, so we can find ourselves in a band and you are using the power of music to save the world. Sewer Mutants, because we can't copyright Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, if you will. Small Town Secret Adventurers, and of course, the big Giganto Superhero Task Force. So, fantastic. So I have provided a skeleton of what the city and everything's going to look like. These two are going to fill in the details for me. So, boys, looking over those options, what house concept strikes you fancy? And maybe we can compromise if it is differing. I'm going to start with Chris because I can. Chris,
Just
Good.
because you can.
because I can.
Oh, yeah. So like I'm looking through a lot of this, and I like it's hard to look at these and just choose one. So, um, funny enough, I was looking through some of the pre-made characters, and whatever pose they have Tommy Finland in, um,
Oh my god.
immediately made me think Magical Scouts with the Magical Girl transformation, which is just when I saw that, I was like, "Yep, yep, that's him." Um, um, but
Google that
like,
name into the Google and you will immediately know who we're talking about.
uh, yeah, but also make sure that you have safe search on. If it's not safe for work,
That is very
gonna
true. Oh, you know what? Thanks for reminding me. I should have said this at the beginning. But while this is going to be a fun and campy adventure, this is also an 18 plus in the sense that we are going to be extremely, how do I put this nicely? It is going to be the most colorful show on this platform. I'm just leave it at that. Interpret that as you will. But also, this game is going to be talking about some themes that are mostly centered towards those of age and have an understanding of what said themes are. So, viewer discretion is advised. Nothing crazy is going to happen, I promise, as I look off screen mysteriously.
no, not at all, not at all.
No.
And I just just as now that we have that out of the way, just as a little bit of FYI, Tommy Finland of the character is based off of Tom Finland, who is an uh artist who drew a lot more of like BDSM culture art. So just something just yeah, it's especially in the leather culture, very popular look. Um but yeah, so on this, I being the Japanese tokusatsu nerd that I am, I'm automatically drawn to Queer Super Sentai or Magical Scouts myself. So, or even like small town secret adventures, that could be fun as well. So, I'm down to hear Connor what you have in mind as well. What you like?
As a comic book nerd, I was immediately like the superhero task force, but I feel like that's a very, very safe option. And like going back, that's I think the last one on the list. So going back up the list after looking through everything, Magical Scouts is very like I don't really know why we're continuing to have this conversation. It's going to be Magical Scouts, because that, in my opinion,
Yep.
is the better version of the Super Sentai
Yep.
stylings. Because Super Sentai is great. Do not get me wrong, but like, why be a Power Ranger when you can go through a very, very Sailor Moon style makeover, right? Um,
Yes.
and yeah,
I was
like
like,
I
how do we make this gayer?
exactly, right? It's just like it's there. Like I love Power Rangers for all of the like queer subtext in Power Rangers. However, they're Sailor
Ma-
Scouts. So like why not say it
there's
bold?
there's gay subtext and then there's gay text.
Exactly.
Also,
And that's
and just like Sailor Moon, too, because there are subtexts, because we have lesbians. Just
exactly. Exactly. I think it's gonna
and
be great. So, like, I think Magical Scouts is the way to go. I think if we're gonna choose like another like little themey option, I am a big fan of the small town secret adventurers trope. I really love Kids on Bikes and like other
Mm.
framework game series that allows you to like kind of explore that like modified 80s standpoint on things. I think it's really fun. Gravity Falls is a huge influence on me as a human being, right?
love
And so
Gravity
like
Falls.
thematically speaking, it fits with Monster of the Week. It fits with all these other like game tropes that have been really popular, especially within this community. that it's going to be hard to get away from it. But if we're going to pick like a big banner idea, my vote goes to Magical Scouts because it checks all the boxes of a superhero task force. It checks the Super Sentai, and it gives you the ease to put us in multiple different types of environments that then check a lot of these other boxes as like supporting themes, in
Oh
my
yes.
humble opinion.
I love it. And I'm not gonna lie, secretly I was hoping you guys would pick Magical Scouts. Well, because like I said, just like my players, I'm a big nerd insert pop culture nerd here. So comic books, anime, manga, anything you can name pop culture related, I love it. And what I love with Magical Scouts is the fact that even in its description, is that all of you will be connected by some grander, cosmic thing, whether it be playing with the idea of reincarnation, aliens, like fate to bringing you all together. I love or celestial bodies, like I love it so much. It's fantastic. Also, I may or may not have been playing a lot of Metaphor Refantasia recently too. So, Atlas, shout out to you. Alrighty, so Magical Scouts it is. So, this will be on my part. I will create your house tag that you guys can use alongside of your personal player tags that we're going to get to in a little bit. But each kind of archetype or house theme has three different categories that kind of act as a stepping stone and a building block of what to expect. So with Magical Scout, your house focus is going to be cosmic level ignorance threats juxtaposed with mundane problems. So you have to save the world. So you have to deal with the everyday mundane life during the day and then save the world at night.
You know what that kind of reminds me of too? That is a huge approval for me.
What?
Persona.
Ah, well, okay. Well, I'm not gonna lie. Like when I, well,
Kitty attack!
the kitty was not a fan. It hurt Sailor Moon. It's all good. No, I will say when I was reading through and it's not a spoiler alert, but reading through how the players will get through to our bad guys of the campaign and going into the inner space, I'm just like, this is just like the palaces or the dungeons of the Persona series. So, I mean, yeah. So I'm excited. I can't wait. It's gonna be great. Now
Also,
it won't.
for point of clarification, really quick, that was the other kitty. That was the biggest, most gentlest boy, and he is very sorry that he has done that. He is sulking over there that
Oh,
he's just a big boy, but that's fine. But I also thought of Persona, so there you go. Anyway, moving on.
I'm excited. So that is the house focus. Your supporting cast, which for the Magical Scouts, isn't can include and not limited to aliens, reincarnated princesses, loved ones, mundane rivals, grand orders, things like that. So I'm so excited to kind of fill in the blank. And some possible adventures, like I said, are limited and not. So, one example is you can stop the Cedar Queen from absorbing the energy of all women by exposing them to the evil diamond ignorance construct. So I'm just like, this is basically Sailor Moon. We have the villain of the week kind of stuff that we need to save the world from. So this is going to be fantastic. Alrighty, so Magical Scouts house it is. So I will be making that house tag and have it ready before our first session. Alrighty, so the next step in our creation before we get to the characters, I'm kind of taking a little bit of control here is what is the city like? So I have made the city, but in terms of the tone of what the city is going to be and the time period, all that is something that I wanted my players to kind of fill in the gaps. So your adventure is going to take place in the fictional, and again, I had Persona on the mind. So for those of you who have either played the original Persona 3 or the recent remake of with Persona 3 Reload, the fictional island town of Chrysalis Bay is heavily influenced from Tatsumi Port Island. So think of it as a man-made island in the middle of the ocean that is it is an island, but it is a what happens if you take a big metropolitan city and place it in the middle of the ocean. So it's going to be fantastic. So that is what Chrysalis Bay is, but now let's pick the genre of how we want this. So of course, since we picked Magical Scouts and Media, it was just like 90s anime. But I mean, I think we can probably fill that in. So, like the genre of what we're doing, since we're doing magical scouts, so anything magical girl or boy related, because within the last couple of years, we've also had some magical boy animes and manga and stuff like that. So it's going to be fantastic. So I think that with Chrysalis Bay, since we are picking magical scouts, we will go very retro 90s as our time period, but an alternate 90s because I'm also going to be throwing in some tech involved.
And unfortunately, we had a little bit of a "Are you still there?" moment
I
on the stream.
always ask that question to myself every single day. Am I still here? Physically,
There we go.
yes. Mentally, I'm not sure. So 90s retro, it would be the genre of our little town with a twist to it all. So 90s, and I'm also going to throw in retro anime in there as well. So outdated cell phones, magical androids, that kind of stuff is going to be fantastic. Alrighty. Last thing before we get into character creation, which is step 2, and this is more on me than it is my players, and this is the safety FAQ and kind of that whole entire speech that must be given. And I wanted to give it live on stream because I think it is important not only for the players, but also for our audience members to kind of be aware of what to expect in a halfling wizard slash Mikey game of this magnitude. My players are very familiar with my style of game mastering, and my style of game mastering is very emotional weight type of storytelling. So I take my approach with very light-hearted storytelling. Obviously, there are certain things I will never include in here. So, like the very, very hot button issues of certain things that may be found in games is not going to be here. So, just without mentioning it and getting us in trouble, you can kind of figure that out. So things that have to do with the green that rhyme with the green fruit that you eat half the time, that that's not going to happen. Nothing of that nature is going to be in here. However, because Queer's RPG is heavily centered around marginalized groups, specifically the queer community and those individuals as well, the story that I will be telling for this game is going to be talking about issues that kind of relate to marginalized groups in general, not just on the queer community, but also going into the POC community, uh, individuals, gender identity, sexes, all that kind of stuff. So I have wrote this down so I don't mess it up. So let me get my statement. In Queers, as the game master, I, Mikey, have created a story that is full of emotional weight, is very lighthearted and campy, but does not shy away from some of the uncomfortable conversations. And while this is a work of fiction, a lot of the inspiration from the storytelling comes from actual hot button topics that are been prevalent throughout history, especially when it comes to marginalized groups. So, in the Queers game, the audience and the players will be experiencing various themes that touch upon these certain things, and they are as followed. The themes that will be talked about and told in this game include themes of gender roles and the stereotypes that come with it, the problems and solutions around the idea of cultural appropriation, the theme of gentrification and found versus blood family, the theme of authenticity and personal expression, the theme of, again, cultural erosion with gentrification. So, looking at that in two different ways, the theme of the personal identity, communication, and lost languages, the theme of authentic art, the theme of tradition and old versus new, and then finally, just overall other hot button issues that come with this game. So, if you are not a fan of very philosophical, political, cultural kind of stuff, this might not be the game to watch. I do highly recommend you keep an open mind and to at least give it a try because these are things that happen every day. They just don't get talked about, but they are going to be interwoven into my style of game mastering, which is very lighthearted and fun and campy. But I'm not going to be pulling my punches when it comes to these issues, or nor the emotional weight that is behind them. So again, I am very grateful and I'm lucky that my players that are in this game have already experienced that in various forms. But I am asking them, and with that being said, those are the things that I'm going to be talking about in my game. So, players, is there any cares or concerns about any of those themes that I brought up that you're like not too keen on or sure of?
No, I think it's pretty reasonable for a story like this. I really do appreciate you at least going through it all for us. So thank you.
Yeah, samesies. I think it's I philosophically speaking, I really love the game medium as a way to bring up like difficult or um rarer, I guess, topics in like a healthy and comfortable way, so that way they can be explored in a different medium compared to just like watching a scripted show. You can actually talk about them in a more approachable kind of explorative of words way, and I'm very excited for
Mhm.
this gaming package in general and what we get to explore with it.
Absolutely.
So that I appreciate both of you, and then my other players I have talked to as well offline, and they feel the same way as you guys do. And so, with your guys's approval, those are the things to expect. And then as we go through, I might change some stuff, but that is the nature of storytelling. I have an idea, but I am going to shape it based on what you guys do, and what's going to be fun to tell a story with. So safety tools are out of the way. Now, let's get to the fun stuff in which we create our characters. So, this is going to be fun. So, in this magical 90s retro, 90s esque retro anime inspired, you know, very heavily influenced by Persona, just a little bit, we are getting into the fun part of creating our characters. So, this is where things are going to get interesting. So, in QUEERZ, the players will be creating what is now going to be the magical scouts that they have chosen, since that's what our house is. So, players, we are going back into the character creation book, and we are going to go through a kind of rapid character creation just for the sake of it, because it will allow you to still choose your characters. But since it's everyone's first time playing this RPG, I think a more streamlined character creation is going to be a little bit more helpful. Plus, you will find many, and I mean many different ways to still do what you like. I'm not gonna lie. Well, I'm not gonna give too much character detail. Andrew created basically a uh, rainbow esque version of a Batman character in here, so it is going to be fantastic. And I have so much fun stuff to play with in terms of what he has given me. So you can thank him when I throw the cosmic level threats at you guys. So just putting it out there. I'm just kidding. Or am I? This is going to be fantastic. Alrighty. So, players, if you would so kindly, in your character creation book, we are going to go through the steps, and we are going to go through the rest of this book because the majority of this book has everything. But if you would turn to page 30 in your book, please, where we are going to go over and go through each step of rapid character creation. So, while my players get there, what we are going to spend the rest of the session on is we're going to create their characters. So, this is to give them a skeleton as well as what is known as power tags. So, we're going to create personality and just the skeleton of the character, and then the mechanical stuff for all you mechanical nerds out there, TTRPGs, will come in the second half of this creation. So on page 30, it does list all the steps that we will be going through to do a rapid character creation. So, step one means that we are going to figure out what your character signature is. So, in QUEERZ, a character signature is kind of a built in foundation. So, it's a foundation of their personality, their ideology, all that kind of stuff. And so, don't let the names fool you because, as crazy as they are in terms of like what they are named, each of these is a kind of trope that we have seen in any medium, whether it's TTRPGs, comic books, anime and manga, television shows. This is where you get the solid basic foundation and what essentially is kind of like the heart of your character, in which you're going to define them as the campaign goes on. So, here in our signatures, there are a few, you know, already made signature kits, and they are as follows: the Aquatic Thrill Seeker, the Drag Lightning Rider. Again, don't let these names get full of you because these are fun. The Elegant Gothic Guardian, the NB Supersonic Punk, Freedom Loving Pirate, Green Echo Gardener, Hothead Activist, Loner Swordsman, Pastel Fairy Princess, Queer Historian Summoner, Squadron Community Leader, and Wielder of the Mighty Pen. So if you fast forward to page 41, all of those signatures are listed there, as well as some relevant power tags and weakness tags that kind of come into play. And what each character has when it comes to their character signature is what is known as a runway, which is kind of a very vague main ideology that this kind of archetype follows. So, for example, if we look at the Aquatic Thrill Seeker, their runway, which is their core ideology, is that let's explore all the wonders of the undersea world. So, again, this is really weird. So, very oceanic inspired, very Aquaman. They might be able to communicate with some fresh tilapia down there. Who knows? So, I do think that while these names are funny, like my favorite one is Drag Lightning Rider, which is basically my drag will light up the world. So this is if anyone wants to be a drag queen or king, because you can also be a king. So as my players go through this, like I mentioned before, runways in this game are the core ideology of where the players can build their personalities and make, character choices. So, boys, I'm excited, but I'm also very nervous to ask which which signatures are tickling your fancies right now. Eeny, meeny, miny, mo. I started with Chris O'Connor. You shall go.
Okay, so I have three that are just kind of like a bit of a loose thrown on there. I'm gonna go in ascending order of, I guess, interest. Right? The that's a bit of a misnomer. So the one that I'm like, oh yeah, duh, that looks really cool, is the Elegant Gothic Guardian. Um, I think I had a lot of fun with that. It's giving very strong like Raven Teen Titans vibe, and I like that. I think it's especially funny with the Magical Scouts option. I think there's a lot of good. Um, you guys know me. I love me some like juxtaposition work, and I just think that that's really fun. And I think there's a lot of framework there that could be really cool. The two that I'm really tied on, the Freedom Loving Pirate, just like looking at it, it's a blank canvas, but it's very much like Tiny Tina level of kaboom, and I just I just think that's really fun. That's also freedom is the right of all people is something that is very very like real to me, as well as like the gothic nature of like your inner darkness and stuff. And being a lifelong goth and an emo, I do love that concept. But the freedom is the right of all people is something I very strongly feel like within my very soul, and I think that's a very connective piece for this. The other one that I'm a little stuck with is the wielder of a mighty pen. That is definitely more from the mechanical side. I think there's a lot of fun options there. I kind of wrote out two separate character concepts without going into the book of just my passing knowledge of what the QUEERZ system looks like. And the wielder of the mighty pen is one of the ones that I wrote down, just like off my dome. And it's differently themed, but the concept of being able to warp reality with a pen and write something into existence and like that, those tags are really evocative to me from like my love of mechanical tactics in gaming is I really like that one. So I'm kind of torn between the freedom loving pirate and the wielder of a mighty pen. And now I'm gonna just that over to my boy Riku down there to tell me
I
what
love it.
you
Yeah,
thinking.
wielder of the mighty pen also because I am a child of a certain time period. When I read it, I was like, "Oh, this is like Chalk Zone. I love Chalk
Uh-huh.
Zone."
Yeah, no, that was yeah, on that list of like, yeah, that totally tracks why it's there.
I love it. Alrighty, Chris. So now you are up at the batter's plate, so to speak. So, what signatures looked and stood out to you?
So when I started looking at, well, before I even looked at this, I was thinking about what character I wanted to do on a more visual standpoint and what they did. And then just quickly looking through this and seeing what matched. Hothead activist would have been like the number one I would have chose that matched it. I just thinking just in general, the idea of fire. I think, yeah, that would work well. But then I read Freedom Loving Pirate. And I can't see I'm sorry, Connor, I can't see myself moving away from it
No,
right now.
take it, dude. 100% take it.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Okay,
Absolutely
because
perfect.
I agree with a lot of the things you said when it comes to, the idea of freedom being the right of all people. I also see it as also a freedom from norms, which is a lot of things that I go through in my own life. Whether you think in terms of relationships, in terms of lifestyle, and such like that, I think that is probably that is something I definitely want to explore. That is a concept that I think I would have a lot of fun with. I have knowledge with, and I would love to do. Also, it gives me an excuse to out of nowhere call myself a butt pirate. So why not? Why not? But no, I think freedom loving pirates where I want to go with this.
And so it begins.
You also know, Mikey, in a lot of the games, I love the more acrobatic characters for some weird ass reason, and this is just perfect for that as well. It feeds into that so much. I don't know why I always go for the acrobatic characters. I just love it.
Dex build. You gotta
Hey,
go with the Dex builds, man.
I never see that's the thing. I in any game, like the only game I don't do a dex build or don't do an acrobatic character is D&D because I tend to do more like magic based characters. But in any other
you are
TTRPG, I will
you
play the
are
dex. I will play the acrobat. You look at when we did what game was it? When we did Worldwide Wrestling, I was the high flyer acrobat type. When we were playing Kids on Bikes, the zombie one, I actually was in gymnastics, my character. That is where I'm at.
That's
So
epic. Oh my goodness. I mean, hey, Chris likes to play the flexible characters, so take that as you will. So, I mean, look, it's gonna get crass on here, so it's gonna be a great time. I am super excited. All right, so I don't think I need to ask this question, but Chris, I'm pretty sure that you have selected the freedom-loving pirate. All right, so that was makes it easy. So Connor, we come back to you. So Chris is taking the pirate. So
Yep.
what do you choose to balance out his pirate?
I'm going with the wielder of the mighty pen. I think
Sweet.
it's got to go with my instincts, and that's my choice.
So we have a pirate, we have a wielder of the mighty pen, I can't wait to hear when I meet up with JT later what he ends up picking. And Andrew has gone with the swordsman, just FYI. So this is going to be interesting.
Nice.
It's going to be so good. Alrighty, so we're going to come back to the power and weakness tags for these individual things once we get to the mechanical aspects. So now that we've picked your signature, now we go on to your balance of your character in terms of theme. So in QUEERZ, which is using the same system as City of Mist, you will each get different tags with different abilities and things like that for this game that you can use to give you advantage, or I can invoke weakness tags to take things away from you, as you found out during the one shot. But what's cool about QUEERZ is that there are three different options in which the players can, balance out the theme for their characters. So the balance is as follows, and the way I view it is based on the distribution of what is known as your rainbow and your theme balance and your realness balances will kind of dictate a lot. So rainbow is focused on your connection to what this game calls the rainbow empathy, which is your source of your super magical scout powers, which since we're now magical girls and boys and non-binary folks of the world. So that is your connection to the rainbow empathy and how you utilize its connection to kind of give you your, well, queer superpowers, if you will. On the other side of things, you have your realness. So the realness is your everyday, mundane, like average, like day to day kind of stuff. So rainbow is your superpowers. Realness is the person behind the mask, so to speak. Now, there are three options that you can pick in terms of your balance for your character, and they are as follows. So, option one is that your character can have one rainbow and three realness. So, the best way to describe this would probably be someone who is just discovered their connection to the rainbow empathy and have been at it for maybe like a month or two, but are still trying very much so to figure out how this works, where it came from, how to utilize it to the best of their ability. So they're basically like the first 20, like the first 10 episodes of any Magical Girl, Super Sentai, Power Rangers thing where they just get the morphers, they just did the Magical Girl transformation the first time, and we are literally collecting allies like Pokemon out here with everyone getting their own Magical Girl transformation until we have the whole squad assembled. The second option is what I call the fair balance, which is two rainbow, two realness. So you have a little bit more experience with your magical powers and your rainbow empathy connection. So you have a better grasp on it than somebody in option one. But you are truly trying to find the balance between being superhero by night and then average person by day. And that is balanced out with two rainbow and two realness. Then you have the final option, which is three rainbow and one realness. Let's be honest, you are the most flashiest, fruitiest. Like, you are the magical Girl Scout, and everybody loves you. We are on the level of like season 3 of Sailor Moon, where they've been doing this for a while, and now we've gone from local threats to cosmic threats. And every 5 episodes, we see Sailor Moon get like a crazy power up and all that. So option 3 is you are superhero, Super Saiyan levels of a QUEERZ, and you kind of still have a connection to the mundane, but you have totally gone into, yeah, this magical girl scout thing is probably what I want to do for the rest of my life. Not to say that you're neglecting your mundane, but it offers a really interesting balance where you are almost full superhero, but you still have your ties to the real world and not going full Avenger mode, if you will. So, with that being said, this is where you two get to pick out your balance options for your character's signature. So, again, option one is one rainbow and three realness. So, very novice when it comes to your empathy powers and are more connected to the mundane. Option two is the 50-50, where you get two rainbow and two realness. So, you've been at this for a little bit and you're still trying to find a true balance between both. And then option three is you threw your boring corporate job out the window and decided to become common writer, if you will. So we are going to go to Chris first. So, again, of these three options, which one sounds really great for our freedom loving pirate?
I I was leaning for him towards the 3 rainbow, 1 realness, only because he the more I think about it, he is very open and out there and loud and proud, does his thing, but I think whatever I choose for that 1 realness is gonna be something really deep and something really, really hard grounding for him, and that is the one thing that kind of brings this fantasy he lives back down to earth, for him, and that's kinda what I imagine for that if I were to go, that way, so I think that suits him a little bit.
Alrighty, so I'm gonna put down that you have chosen the route of almost full superhero, if you will. So
Almost, almost.
almost. So 3 rainbow and 1 realness. Sweet. Oh, this is gonna be so much fun. Alrighty, Connor, we're gonna come to you next. So
Cool.
those 3 options, which one do you fancy the most?
I'm gonna go with the balanced option of 2 rainbows and 2 realness. I think that for what I'm kind of envisioning for my character, that gives them the most likely stance of like that tug of war juxtaposition that I like to play with. I'm kind of looking ahead a little bit at some of the options, and yeah, I think that there's a lot of opportunity to work with you as the GM in this one, so that way we can have that kind of give and take, and there's a lot more flexibility mechanically that way to see how we do. I know this isn't like a mechanic heavy game, but I think it gives more, a wider spread of options for the role play side of things mechanically built into the game itself. And I love giving options for the role play thing. So I'm gonna go 2 and 2.
Sweet. Alrighty, so 2 and 2. Chris has picked 3 rainbow and 1 realness. Andrew has also done the balance route of 2 and 2. So it's going to be very interesting too, as well. Alrighty, so now that we have picked the option balances, now we get into the fun part where we get to pick what exactly your rainbow powers and your realness powers are going to be. So we are going to pick them and then we are going to create the tags for them. So first, we're going to start off with rainbow. So if you check out page 31, it has a list of everything, the 4 categories of where you can pull your rainbow powers from. Chris and Connor, since each of you has more than 1 rainbow, your first rainbow comes from your signature. So going back to what you pick for your signature, you your 1 rainbow comes from your signature, which is, and then going back to this. Da, 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 every time I'm looking at my notes, freedom loving pirates just get me. I don't know why. And then what you previously stated afterwards, I also can't get out of my mind either. Thanks a lot, Chris. I love you and I hate you at the same time.
Love you too.
Fine, whatever. It's great. Sure, fine. So, so your signature immediately becomes your first rainbow. So it comes from here, which is going to be your runway. So that also helps a little bit when it comes to that. So for the freedom loving pirate, freedom is the right of all people, is like the automatic that you get from your signature. And then for Connor, since we went with wielder of the mighty pen, your runway is writing can change the world. So that is the fun part. Now, the other options, because you each have picked more than 1 rainbow, now you get to pick from the 4 categories that are listed on page 31. So Connor, you get to 1 more rainbow from any of these 4 categories. Chris, you get to pick 2. So for the audience who are watching at home, In the Rainbow Power theme kits, there are 4 categories in which our 2 players can choose something to give their character. And the 4 categories are approach, fighting style, magic, and Q gear. So the approach is how they use their words and personality to kind of diffuse a situation. You also have the fighting style, which is, of course, how we want things to be when it comes to how they fight. Magic is if you want to give literally magical scouts give magical powers to your characters. And then Q gear is any like equipment and things like that. So let me go through this. So for approach, you can choose from all loving, class clown, everyone's parent, facts and figures, fierce and fabulous, which is personally my favorite, and lead by example. For fighting style, you this also gets me too. So fighting style, you could choose from chains and whips, dance battler, karate chop. I have to say it because there's an exclamation point. Man the cannons, which I have a feeling somebody is about to go into. Pugilist and shield bearer, magic. You have clockwork construction, conjurer of illusions, fairy guardians, in my element, size magic, and teleporting step. And then for Q gear, animal claws, gamer medkit, heels and wigs, rolling pin, wearable queerdar, and wiggle my wand. I kid you not, that is in the book. So now you may choose one of those 4 categories and then pick one of those things underneath the said categories. Connor, like I mentioned before, you get one. And then Chris, you get to pick 2 from any of these categories as well. So Connor, we're going to start with you since you get to pick one. So first, do you want to pick something from approach, fighting style, magic, or Q gear?
So I have two options that I have picked out. I have the tactically correct choice, and I have the why not fuck around a bit choice. And so the tactically correct choice, if I wanted to min max my build for this super serious RPG that we're doing, I would go with the magic option, and I would choose Clockwork Construction. I think there's really cool ideas there of being able to like summon a clock punk construct. The idea of warping reality and then also doing a construct kind of mashup is exactly what I had written down originally as like the theme and idea that I wanted to go with. Is it a callback to a previous character from a previous game that Mikey ran? Who's to say? Who's to say? But the Clockwork Construction really got me in there because I love as a mechanic. I love machinery. I love being able to get creative with inventions. The artificer build is really fun. However, under fighting style, there's pugilist, and there's just something super funny to me about I have a reality warping pen, but all I'm gonna do is punch you in the face. And I think I need to go with that just because it's funny. And I'm so sorry if I'm ruining the game, but I would like my power tag to be my fists, and that's what it says right there. Followed by rainbow knuckles. How cute is that? So yeah, I'm gonna go with the pugilist for my one choice, and I'm just gonna cross out clockwork construction.
I love it so much.
I'm so sorry, Mikey.
Oh, don't apologize. I think this is amazing. So
Uh,
those are your 2 rainbows. Now, Chris, we're going to
yep.
come to you. So you get 3. So your first one comes from your signature, which is freedom is for all people, which is very important in our eyes. But now you get to pick 2 more from any of these categories. So let's do the first one. So which category do you want to pick from first?
So first, I am going to pick from approach,
Mhm.
and I'm gonna take the lead by example.
Ooh.
Mostly because it's the idea of he wants to share the way he lives his life with everybody else. He wants to show how great it is and such like that. I love just seeing loud declarations in there. I will make them listen, kick the door. Yeah, and I know a lot of that stuff is also kind of that idea of being activist and such too, which is great. I just see him as also having some of that obnoxious, "Hey, I'm here, people."
Oh gosh, we're gonna turn him into All Might.
No, 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 maybe. So I think lead by example is gonna be the first one. Now the second one I'm gonna take from fighting style,
Okay.
and I know you mentioned demand the cannons, being that I
Mhm.
am freedom loving pirate.
Right.
Uh, However,
Oh, I'm excited.
chains and whips.
No, 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 come on.
uh so to be honest with you, when I was originally thinking my character up, my original idea was actually one who uh took a lot of interest in poi and flagging and a lot more of that kind of artistry that a lot of the chain and whip fighting style goes with. And I love that I just love that idea of it. Um but also, yes. Exactly what you're thinking, Mikey.
So
Uh,
essentially, what you're telling me is that when these fighting sequences happen, in my head, I imagine literally your character just basically has Rihanna's S&M and Rude Boy on repeat while you're fighting.
yeah, possibly. And like the chain he has two like anchors on either end.
Oh, okay. Now we're getting somewhere. Now we're getting somewhere.
There we go. I love the idea. And I like the idea of doing something different than what folks expect. So,
Arc
although when you get to know me, that this is probably not the most unexpected. So anyway. Uh
Arc Systems, we have found your new Blaze Blue fighting character.
Oh yeah, yeah. Kel said in chat, so Riku ain't All Might, he's Midnight instead. Yes,
Yes.
you are correct.
Oh my goodness. All right. So we are gonna go with chains and whips then, Chris.
I'm
Uh
so excited about this character. You have no idea.
I'm excited for how crazy it's about to get, but honestly, I love this. I really do. We have a pirate, we have somebody who can literally turn words into reality, and Andrew is basically Batman. So, I mean, what can possibly go wrong? Alrighty, so now that we've covered the rainbows, now we get into the mundane, which is the realness. So, just like the rainbow, Connor, you get two real, and Chris, you only get one. So this is how the realness works. So you have three categories, but depending on how many realness you have, you go in order from which it has listed. So your first one is going to so now you choose an order until you have four theme kits in total. So your realness needs to be chosen. Choose one if you have one realness theme, two if you have so and so on. So for Connor, since you have two realness, your first one is going to come from your ordinary, and your second one is going to come from your gimmick. Chris, you only get to pick from the ordinary because with realness, it makes you go in order from ordinary, gimmick, and then accessories and companion. So we're going to start with you, Chris, since you only have one realness, which will allow Connor to go through the two lists he has to look at. So you're ordinary, so you're everyday, the mundane. I mean, you are still a human, whether you are regular or superhero, but this is the nine, in the words of the great Dolly Parton, this is your 9 to 5, so to speak. So you may choose from one of the following for your ordinary: activist, humanities student, renowned artist, small clinic doctor, video game reviewer, my crush, new kid in the band, slick best friend, explore the city, future rock star, master my craft, ditz, jolly jock, hopeless prankster, punk, sweetheart, and of course everybody's favorite, the tsundere. I kid you not, it is listed in this book. So each of those has different things. They range from occupation, relationships, goals, personalities, and you get to pick from one of this list. I can't even imagine what's going to happen. So, for our freedom loving pirate, Chris, what stands out to you for your one realness?
Hmm.
I know this is the tough part because
This
it's like,
is
yes,
this is a
magical
tough one.
powers, but now we got to pick the humanity side of you.
It is. And I'm looking through a lot of these, and I do like a lot of these, but I am leaning towards my crush
Oh
as
boy.
mostly as the more I think about it, my character is very free, like I've said before, he's very free and out there and whoever he wants to be. But there is that one person that, whether they know it or not, brings him back down to earth, brings him back down to um the person he'd do anything for, the person that maybe the way he started out being a pirate and being this outgoing, crazy, whatever he's gonna be, was to impress them. And I kind of want to run it as if he's afraid to tell that person. And the idea of that constant barrier that they almost have of finally telling them his feelings, not knowing if they'd actually feel the same way back or not. A lot of those kind of themes with it. So I think I'm gonna go with that.
So, Chris, you have picked one of my favorite tropes ever in any storytelling medium. It is miscommunication.
Yes, yes, story of my fucking life.
Yes. Story of my life too is miscommunication. Also, if you are looking for great miscommunication stuff to watch too this in this recent anime season, please watch Blue Block. Blue Box. Blue Box is amazing. It is a story about a basketball player and a badminton player who fall in love, but miscommunication gets the best of them. I love Blue Box so much. I'm a sucker for shojo, and this is basically what Chris has picked. We are turning him into a shojo protagonist now, a shojo freedom
Yes.
loving pirate.
Oh, this is gonna be fun.
So basically, we're mixing Frankie and Brooks. Got it. Oh, this is gonna be fantastic. Alrighty, so we're gonna come back to picking the power. Yes, even my crush will have power tags for you. Alrighty, Connor. So now we're gonna come to you. You get two. So your first one comes from your ordinary. So we're gonna start there. So I read the list for Chris, so that stays the same for you. For your ordinary, what stands out to you?
So, Chris, I too was looking at my crush. But that's fine. I'm fine. Because through necessity and my desire to never have the same choice as anyone else, um, what I want to do. So okay, a couple of things popped out at me, and then I realized that they have to be in order of these things, and I went balls. But that's fine. I have adjusted, and it works even better now because I like that, and it's great. So Punk was one of the ones that kind of first popped out for me for personality. That is too easy for me because that is me, and that's okay. So we're just gonna not do that one. I love my crush. I think that that is just a beautiful, wonderful like option to go with, and I will come back to that when I do my second choice. But for my first choice, I was looking for occupation stuff because I love the trope of like being torn between your obligations, your work life, those like things and then having this greater calling where it's like, yeah, you have this larger thing that you're saving the world, but also like you have to pay for rent. And how does that balance? That's one of my favorite tropes. So what I wanted to do, because none of the occupations really like stuck with me too much, I want to do master my craft, um, and I would like to go the chef route with that one. My idea behind this is being a wielder of a mighty pen and being able to literally change reality with writing and play with the idea of like, everything is just an ingredient to life, right? That being stuck in this, I have to follow these recipes as a part of my day job, I think there's something there that I want to play with. And that just like rings really strongly to me, like having to follow all the instructions, knowing that you could cut corners, you could do something unique or interesting and like change the variables, but like you're not allowed to based off of the rules of your job. And what does that actually mean? And then the struggle there, the passion of mastering a craft that requires precision with also some creativity attached to it. I think that could be a lot of fun for somebody whose superpower is to just Scarlet Witch everything within reason. Um, yeah, so that's my ordinary choice. For my gimmick choice, I want to go with On and Off Again, which is just the dark side version of my crush, and I think that's more interesting for my character and the idea that I have for them, and what that means for Mikey having to flirt with me on camera again. Which I don't know why that happens all the time, but it just does, and I'm not complaining about it because Mikey, I love you and you're great. It's fun to find people that I'm comfortable like role playing in that kind of way. I still think about the NPC you gave me from Neon Memories in Carrie and like that concept, and I will tell literally anyone who will listen how much I love the character of Carrie, even though we only got to see her for like literally 5 minutes. She will haunt me till the day I die, and I love that. Um, but anyway, I want to go with On and Off Again. I think that is a special heat that doesn't necessarily come up in a lot of the games that I am a part of, and uh, I don't know. I just think it's really fun. I think it's a different kind of like queer related struggle when you're dealing with like what does this actually mean as people's like ideas of identity and sexuality and expression, and like how that changes through time and through existence. And I think there's a lot to explore there, and could really be, a fun, interesting story that to tell. And I'm loving the story that I'm kind of writing in my head for this supernatural writer that I'm developing. So yeah.
I love it too. And yeah, I've come to learn that I am scared of how well I can play flirtatious characters with other players. And I don't know even to this day if that is an asset or a detriment, but
Why not both?
I always handle it with care because I don't want things to get too crazy. But yeah, I love playing very flirtatious characters because they are a lot of fun. Lo and behold, my little bunny bard was one of those. Anyways, but not really. Alrighty. So now we've gotten the personality builds out of the way. So we have picked on your theme kits. So now we get to the fun part of this, which is we are going to be going over power tags and weakness tags for each of these. So I have written everything on my murder-esque board, sticky notes of everything, and we'll transfer this to a paper at some point within the next couple of weeks. But we are going to go through all the stuff that you have chosen, and we are now going to pick our power tags and our weakness tags. So in QUEERZ, the way that the mechanical aspects of this game works is that the players will be able to call upon their rainbow and their realness tags in pretty much every situation they find themselves in. Obviously, rainbow has to do more with using their super magical scout powers and their connection to the rainbow empathy to kind of solve problems and to fight. And they also can pull from their realness if they need to do, everyday mundane stuff, or who knows, you can find yourself in the mundane and use your magical scout powers to help you with the mundane tasks, and the mundane can help you in the magical scout task. They're very interchangeable. But the way that QUEERZ works is that each player, when they want to do an action, will be rolling 2d6, or if you fancy, you may do 1d12, because that is also a thing that happens. 2d6 is more fun because you never know what you're going to get. It's like a box of chocolates. You never know what's going to be inside. But when players in this game want to do anything, they are going to be rolling 2d6. Their power tags allow them to, conversate with me and convince me, be like, hey, so I think this tag works in this situation, and let me tell you why. It's very barter based, which is very fun. And if I think it works for the situation, then for each power tag that they add, because they can choose as many as they want, if it makes sense and I approve of it and they convince me it makes sense for what they're trying to do, and for each power tag, they get to add a +1. So if for some reason they have 3 power tags that make sense for the situation that they're trying to do, they roll their 2d6 and then they add 3 to the final total. In this game, a 12 or higher is pretty much the best success. So pretty much what you want to do happens. A 7 through 10 is a 7 through 11 is like it kind of happens, but there's going to be a little bit of compromise. I'm either going to throw a wrench into the plan, or you succeed but at a small little cost. Then a 6 or below is it doesn't work, and so it is in my discretion to illustrate how badly they fail. Sometimes it's going to be comical, sometimes the magical item is going to get into the enemy's hands because they failed to get it, and all that stuff. So we are going to go all the way back to your guys' signature. So for Connor, it's the wielder of the mighty pen, and then for Chris, it's our freedom loving pirate. So we are going to go back to those signatures, and we are going to start with those power and weakness tags. So the power tags, you will get to choose 3 for, so you get to pick 3 power tags and 1 weakness tag for each of the 4 categories that we have. So if you take a look where your signatures are, starting on page, well, it starts on page 41 and goes all the way to 43. If you take a look at your signature, so wielder of the mighty pen and freedom pirate, if you look underneath power tag, you see the very first one in bold. So you automatically get that first one. So the first one that is bold is given to you automatically, and you get to pick 2 more after that. So for our freedom loving pirate, and I can't believe that I get to give this to you so early on, your first power tag is a spectral flying pirate ship. I swear we're turning him into a One Piece character every second, and I'm here for it. So you get the spectral ship.
I'm literally turning into an amalgamation of different anime uh protagonists, and it's gonna be weird.
It's gonna be absolutely weird, but in the best way possible. So our pirate gets the spectral ship, but just as equally as crazy, Connor, as the wielder of the mighty pen, you automatically get the power tag of reality warping pen.
What could possibly go wrong?
Everything can go wrong, but that is exactly why I love this game. So each of you automatically gets that first one, and then you get to pick 2 more. So Connor, I'm going to come to you first. So you automatically get reality warping pen,
Yep.
and you may choose 2 more power tags from the following: write something into existence, in the flow, curious minds, clear and clever phrasing, fictional character summoning, write some cover, inspirational words, new items and scenery, write something evocative.
So, the first one that popped out to me when I was first looking at the signature like thing itself was write some cover, because I think that's super funny. I'm not gonna choose that. I just want to give that one a call out, because like that really put the whole concept like clearly into my vision of like, yeah, and I think it kind of depends on how we want it to go, but I could see it as either like Death Note style, like I open up a notebook and it's like, and then a giant concrete wall showed up, boop, and then a concrete wall shows up, or being able to do it more like a, Disney Channel intro kind of thing with a magic pen. Um, but we'll play with that later. Flavors free, right? But I really loved Write Some Cover. Upon looking at this and looking at the power tag list more, clear and clever phrasing is one that I chose. I think that gives me, I think that puts more labor on me in that regard, because I'm imagining like there's that thing where you take like a 5th edition spell and you change one letter and it becomes a new spell, right? So like I think that that's a really fun kind of creative way to like grammatically play with the world, and I feel like I should always have limitations on how I work within a role play system, and I think clear and clever phrasing is really important. I think that gives me homework to do, it gives me opportunities to improv in the moment, and I want to do that. The other one I did was inspirational words. I love playing a support character, and I feel like going with the inspirational words is kind of a cool idea. And I immediately was thinking of like being able to have those scenes of like I need you to get up and do this versus like you can do this, and being able to be that support and be that supportive for yourself using your words for others, which is something I experience a lot, and I'm really thankful and grateful to be in that kind of position. So being able to use that in a role play game like this that is so impactful, I want those two options, and then a pen that allows me to just and take stuff out of existence.
I love it. So those are the three power tags that you get to use. It's going to be very fun to see how you utilize those. But just as anybody, you have the power, but you also there is a small side effect when it comes to it. So now let's pick your weakness tag. So these weakness tags mostly work for me that I can invoke them to kind of throw a wrench into the plans of the players. But the cool thing is that players can also evoke their own weakness tags, and by doing so, it allows for their character to grow and
Mm.
have a possible level up, so to speak, as we continue with the campaign. So they also get to be a part of that. So for the wielder of the mighty pen, the weakness tags are as follows: willful ignorance, people who don't read, purple prose, drained of creative juices.
I love what I imagine with purple prose, but that's inappropriate, so we're not going to go that route. And then willful ignorance felt like a really good option, and I like it, but I think there's more meat to be played with drained of creative juices. So I went with that one. I love that. I love that as a character. I love that as an opportunity to use a weakness to grow, and having that writer's block is just so real, and I love it. So I chose being drained of my creative juices.
Love it. All right, so that takes care of your signature power tags and weakness. So we go to our freedom loving butt pirate. Just kidding. Hey, you're the one that brought it up, so that is exactly what I am bringing. I am going to be
Hey, it's okay. Fine by me. Yep, yep, yep.
the views of this cast is not reflective. No, just kidding. Alrighty, so for our freedom loving pirate, so like I mentioned before, you automatically get the first tag, which is the spectral flying pirate ship. Oh boy, that's going to come in handy. So now you get to pick two from the remaining list of power tags, and they are as follows: fight tyranny on the open skies, uh, free the repressed, spread ideas and information, fire the cannons, evasive maneuvers, ferment wanderlust, treasure chests, seafarer acrobatics, which I'm gonna be disappointed if you don't pick acrobat. No, I'm just kidding.
Oh no, that was the first thing I picked. I'll tell
All
you
right.
straight up. I picked Seafarer Acrobatics straight up right away as soon as I saw it. Um the second that I am choosing is gonna be Free to Repressed. Just trying to be that kind of uh again, the idea of leading by example too. Um, Trying to get folks to break out of their shells, get out and about, as well as the general whole fighting for justice thing.
You want them to wake up, get up, and get out there?
Yes, yes, I do. Yes, I do.
Sorry. We are big Persona lovers, so if you're a Persona fan, you get that reference. Alrighty, so that's so oh man, I love this already. All right, my pirate. Now we must pick your weakness, and you have the following: which again, these weakness tags are so vague, but you could take them any sort of way, which I love. But
Mm-hmm.
the weakness tags are as followed: shackles, the willingly controlled, rules and regulations, responsibility isn't my thing.
So going off of the idea of it being they're so vague and you can really take a lot of these a lot of different ways. I'm actually gonna choose shackles. Uh, the idea of not just the physical shackles, not just physically being restrained, but also the idea of being able to um uh the shackles of everyday life, the shackles of adulting, things like that. So it can be used in a lot of different ways. So I think shackles is very, which is also the odd thing about the idea of having a crush. The idea of a relationship can also be a shackle. So that could be an interesting to play off of. So yeah, I think that's what I'm gonna go with.
See, my players don't know this yet, and this is me breaking the fourth wall a little bit, but they are giving me amazing cannon fodder to use later. And both of them know if you give me some very emotional things about your character, you bet your sweet candy ass that I'm going to exploit it in the best way possible. And but I promise it's always going to be for a good thing. Alrighty, so that takes care of the first one for both of you. So now we get into the second one. So for Connor, we're going to go to your pugilist category. And then for Chris, we get to do lead by example. So I'm going to go with Chris first so we can balance out who goes first so everybody gets a 50-50 chance of doing so. So let us go to lead by example. There's nothing more than me. I love running my fingers through these physical pages. Like, oh, it still has the new smell of books. I love a good book.
The
I
new
love a
ink
good book
smell.
smells. Yes. Oh, anyways. Alrighty. I love it. There's this artwork is also really good too, you guys. Like, you have no idea. Oh, the art is so beautiful. Alrighty. So here we go. So starting with lead by example. So leading by example. I just passed it, didn't I? Darn it. See, this is the problem. There's huh. Chris, if you're already there, can you point me to the correct page?
I am not there. Sorry.
See, this
It
one.
is 47.
Okay. I knew I passed it. Ugh. Anyways. Alrighty. Lead by example. So, there we go. So, as I love this for so you automatically get the first one that is bolded, which I have to say it like this. So, lead by example. Your first power tag is loud declarations because it is spelled in all caps.
Yep.
So, loud declarations. And then you get to pick from the following for the other two power tags for lead by example. And they include passion to see justice done, best defense is offense, kick the door, impassioned fervor, I will make them listen, resistance just makes me fight harder, taking down bullies, draw attention away from the others, try me, I dare you. So you get to pick two of
Yes.
those.
Yeah. So the first one was kind of an easy one for me. I chose draw attention away from the others. I could see him as that kind of that look at me, not them type character as he runs away, flipping over everything. um
Parkour.
Parkour. Yes, exactly. The second one, I think I think with just his like fun-loving kind of attitude kind of comes out in ways. I'm gonna take the "try me, I dare you." I think that would just be fun to play with. Of Yeah, I just think it would be fun to play with.
I think so too. Alrighty, so now let's balance that out with a weakness tag. And for lead by example, here are the weakness tags: cooling off period, fire can't burn fire, bullheaded, rage at the world.
So something about me in general is, as much of an extrovert, outgoing person I can be, I do things. I tend to get over my head to the point where I get exhausted for weeks on end. I see this character being the same way, of putting a lot of their energy into being out there and the face of everything, that he exhausts himself very quickly. So I'm gonna choose cooling off period.
Alrighty, sounds good. Ooh, this is gonna be fun.
Hmm.
Alrighty, so so we will write the cooling off period. And then we come to Connor. So now we get to do the pugilist. So good old fighting style. So
Oh yeah. And I
we
have mine chosen because I
I love it.
read ahead like a butt.
It's all good. So pugilist, you get the first power tag, which is my personal favorite, my fists.
Hell yeah. That's not going to get taken out of context.
I mean, it could, but that's exactly what we want. All
You
right,
good, Riku?
so
You okay down there?
you could.
Doing all right?
Anyway, you heard my fist, and then it was lights out from there.
Love you.
I'm gonna go for a walk.
No.
Won't
Alrighty.
help. And he's
Oh
gone.
my god. Alrighty. All right, Connor. So you
Yep.
have chosen my fists, and
Yep.
then what other two have you picked for your power tags?
I chose Rainbow Knuckles. So I pretty sure I read this correctly earlier on. The uh concepts of like how you do your special moves and stuff to battle ignorance and bring about positive change and stuff is by using your rainbow moves, and punching someone in the face so hard ignorance falls out their head I think is very funny, and so I couldn't pass up Rainbow Knuckles because that just seems fun. And then I was a little torn with some other ones. I like Born to Brawl, I like Storm of Fists. I ended up taking I Can Take That Blow. It gives me very strong I can do this all day energy, and Cap is my boy, for reasons that we'll get into later. But and it's not just America's ass. It's significantly more than just ass. It's
Yes.
deeper than the ass, everyone. Anyway, but I Could Take That Blow is very interesting to me as a concept, and I really enjoy that from like a martial arts standpoint of like I don't know. I think that leaves up a lot of room. And
And
speaking of room,
then the weakness tag.
the weakness one. I chose Got That Temper. The other options: weak left jab, not fast enough, and won't fight in a fixed match. Puff, you good, sweetie? Okay, there you go. Thank you. It's the kitten. What's she gonna do? Weak left
Aw.
jab felt kind of weak by design. Not fast enough sounded really interesting. Same with won't fight in a fixed match. But Got That Temper, I think it leaves a lot of room for some role play opportunity, and I wanted to explore that, so I chose that one.
We love to see it.
Yeah,
Alrighty. So now we move on to the next part. So for Connor, it is
yeah,
master my craft, and then for Chris, it is I can't wait to figure out how we're gonna do this. The fight with chains and whips. So
yeah,
so this is going to be fun.
yeah.
All right, so Connor, we're gonna start with you.
Cool.
Master my craft.
Yes.
So
So Master My
so
Craft is a goal, which I like from like a goal standpoint. The anchor for it, I don't know if we've been talking about anchors, but the anchor for this one is I will be the best in my trade, which I found very interesting. It's kind of made me rethink some of my um, ideas for how this character is going to play out. Um, but I think it's going to work out totally fine. So I chose the one I get for free is called a tireless worker, which I love from a character like option. I chose put my heart into it because of the passion and like connective bits there, as well as attention to detail. From a min max standpoint, attention to detail feels really strongly like an investigation and deeper dive into the environmental stuff. I think that's a great way to kind of bring more mechanic options to the roleplay side of things. I'm very excited. And then for my weakness tag, I chose can't refuse a challenge because I think that dovetails really nicely with the temper aspect from the pugilist. And I don't really play hotheads very often, and this is kind of shaping up into that kind of you know punk kind of mindset, and I'm excited for it. I think it's going to be a good role play option. No time for fun as a weakness tag was very interesting, but I felt like that would be more too much of a limitation as opposed to like an open ended option to do more stuff character wise. So
I love it. Alrighty. So, Chris, we're gonna come to you now. Your fighting style of sticks and stones may break my bones, but chains and whips excite me. By the way,
Yes.
I'm a little bit late to the party on this, but you're welcome, Cal, for getting that Rihanna song stuck in your head now. You're
Yep.
welcome.
Oh, lordy, lordy. So,
Alrighty, chains and whips. Chain whip fighting
mhm,
is the immediate first one that you get.
yes. So,
And then what other two power tags do you have?
it's on page 51.
Mm-hmm.
So, obviously, I get the chain whip fighting. I'm gonna take the disarm.
I love how these things are named.
I know,
Nah,
right? I know,
nah,
right?
I
Now,
saw that and laughed.
yeah. Now, now, I really wanted to pick Spot a Submissive a mile away just for the fuck of it. But no, I decided to pick just
Continue.
Feels like
I'm
some
sorry.
that's some mid level stuff right there. You got to work up to being able to spot a sub from that far away.
look. Conversation for another time. Anyway, uh I kind of picked my next power tag only because it kind of goes with what I picked for my weakness. So for my last power tag, I picked Unexpected Cuffs. Because I could also see him like using the chain whip to cuff somebody up. Um, but at the same time, it could go into the weakness, which is stronger pull. Someone who has a stronger pull than me, that could be tough. So I think that's what I'm gonna go with for the chains and whips.
And oh, this is gonna be so much fun. I cannot
Oh
wait.
yes, I cannot wait for this.
Which then leads us into our final tag, so to speak, for both of you. So we are going for Connor, it is on and off again, and for Chris, it is my crush. So let's get to those fun aspects. And Chris, we're going to start with you with my crush. So you automatically get the first power tag, which is I love this because it's hilarious and it can go in so many ways. But the automatic power tag you get for my crush is endless infatuation.
Yes. Now, actually, it's funny with this one. While you have Brianna stuck in my head, I have Paramore stuck in mine with Crush, Crush, Crush.
Yes.
Uh,
Yes.
so for the power tags that I chose, just taking the idea of not really sure yet of if they like me or not. Which, by the way, the weakness I took, I'm gonna go straight to my weakness. Do they really like me?
Oh no.
That's a bit of an obvious one I was gonna pick. But to kind of go off of that for a power tag is slowly building confidence. Um, just thinking the idea of slowly trying to get to that point of being able to express his true feelings. And then Emotional support,
Oh,
because we all need that in our lives.
you need
So
an
yeah,
emotional support. Yeah, you need an emotional support bra in your lives, ladies and gentlemen.
yes,
Metaphorically
yes,
speaking.
yes, yes, you do. But yeah, nope, that's what I'm gonna pick for my crush.
Love it. All right, Connor, we're coming to you next with on and off again. So you automatically get the first one, which take this as you will and take this with a grain of salt. But the first one is they make me feel good.
Yeah, they do. There's no. Anyway, that's fine. Yeah, no, there's layers to that, and that's great. And then so I don't have a clear idea of what this like on again off again relationship is going to be because I want Mikey to do what Mikey do best, right? But I chose they know how to fight because if Mikey can give me a kick ass NPC that I'm an on again off again, whether that's a villain or not, who's to say? But I felt that would be a good little boop to throw in there, as well as I still care. Um, I think that is just the emotional weight of I still care. And it's so the way that these power tags are structured, it's a whole bunch of them. And the last one is I still care. And I felt like that was an intentional choice. And I respect it. And I wanted to choose that. Um, and then for the weakness tags, shockingly sensitive felt weird. Um, their current partner feels a bit too easy, I guess. We can't get along also feels easy, so I went with old habits, and that is
Ooh.
like I'm noticing a lot of like song lyrics, right? We've been making the jokes, and like they're just kind of popping up a lot here, almost by design. I mean, what's that all about? But I feel like there's such good open ended opportunity here, and being able to say like I still care and falling into these old habits and like I don't know, I love it. I think it's great. I think it's super fun. I'm really excited for how this book is laid out. And those of you watching, y'all should play Queers because this is fucking awesome. So yeah.
I love it so much. Alrighty. So that takes care of the power tag. So this next part's pretty easy. Is that with each kind of theme power tag that we've created, so the four that we have, each of them has some sort of motivation to it or what drives this theme tag for you. So this one's really easy because you guys can find it. But for your signature, so for you, Connor, that would be your, the signature of our wielder of the mighty pen. And for Chris, it is the freedom loving pirate. So as you look in each of those categories, they have what is known as a runway. So that is your runway slash motivation. So for our pirate, your core runway for that signature is freedom is the right of all people, as we've been discussing throughout this character creation. And then for you, Connor, as the wielder of the mighty pen, your motivation slash runway is the right you believe your character believes that writing can change the world, which is a beautiful thing to see. Then, since for your rainbow themes, it shares the same runway as the signature theme, so that kind of plays into your other rainbows. And then for your realness themes, so the realness tags that you picked, the anchor is what drives those realness things. So you guys can look through the realness parts that you guys have selected for your characters. So in this case, Connor, yours would be the oh my gosh, I lost the sticky note. Here it is. So for Connor, it would be master my craft and off again. So the anchors of those two things will be the motivation for those tags. And then for you, Chris, since you only have one realness, my crush's anchor is going the anchor for my crush is going to be the motivation for those. So those are a lot of fun. And with that, that takes care of the official character creation. But there is one more thing, and I should have told my players this ahead of time, but I'm going to put them on the spot because what is any TTRPG without a little bit of spontaneity, if you will? And this is Chris and Connor will be familiar with what I'm about to talk about because they have both been a part of my games. And so they know this tool that I use very well. So as a last step in our character creation for the evening, I'm going to put my players on the spot a bit, but it is not necessarily going to be a bad thing. So, as a game master, there is a tool that I have picked up from a friend of mine, and then I have seen some other people I respect in the industry kind of use. And for this type of story that we are telling, which is very high camp, fun, like campiness and lightheartedness to it, but also dealing with, the emotional impact and the emotional drain that these topics that are going to be in this game can have an effect. What the tool I like to use as a game master is that each player will be able to have what I call an anchor character in this game. So the anchor character is a tool that I use for in-game purposes and, IRL player to GM purposes. The anchor character is a character that no matter the situation, no matter where we are in the story, the anchor character is what I say is untouchable, that the story will not take them out. They will not be used for nefarious purposes. The anchor character is there to essentially anchor in game the character and to help them through any, in game trauma or, craziness that they are dealing with. But it allows, because I'm also a psychologist in a way, because that's what I went to school for. It allows me as a game master to utilize the role play between this as also a coping mechanism in case my players need to come back and ground themselves based on what has transpired in front. And if they are having a tough time, we can take a break and use the interaction between the player and the anchor character to kind of help them find the center again. So it is a safety tool, and it is always there for my players to know that if they need to find a way to center themselves, or if they need to find an in-game way to deal with the heaviness that was a scene or something like that, anchor characters will always be available for my players. So, with that being said, I know I should have told you guys this before, but I want you to think about, doesn't necessarily have to be fully fleshed out, but it could just be a basic skeleton and we can build upon it later. But I want you to think about the concept of the character you just created. Who would be an anchor in your character's life that you feel that your character would be able to go to for advice, for help, for anything they possibly need? So, that's the last bit of the things that we're going to do. So I know there's a lot of it to kind of help you figure it out. I promised Sandro I wasn't going to spoil too much of his character, but I feel like that is okay in this capacity. So his anchor character, he actually utilized since he is becoming the Batman of this game, so to speak. His anchor character happens to be a mentor figure of his who also happens to be a familial member as well. So, me and Andrew have constructed a way for this mentor character to be able to, for his character and for Andrew himself, in case anything happens, to be able to go to them for help like that. But these anchor characters can be anybody. It could be a familial member by blood, it could be a friend, it could be, we see it all the time across things. It could also be like what we've seen in other things in more recent memory. Like I I have seen people like, even online gamers, like online chat room friend has been used as an anchor in a campaign that I was watching not too long ago too, where they said in the real world, and this anchor character happened to be like a gamer tag of a person. So think of like Maya from Persona 3 Social Link, like that, like kind of like that. So, Chris, I'm gonna put you on the spot first because I love to. I'm just kidding. No, so for your freedom loving pirate, doesn't necessarily have to be 100% fleshed out, but who would be their anchor to kind of help them and ground them back when things get tough?
I think for my character, I think, well, first off, out in the chat, welcome Raiders. Just saw that pop
Woo!
in. Thank you for
Heck
stopping by.
yes.
Um, for my character, I think the obvious choice would be my crush, but instead, I'm actually gonna choose kind of simmer kind of the same of a mentor character, like someone older in the gay community that I met that was essentially an inspiration to me being this the first person to give me that kind of confidence, um, because they were as well. So I would love it to be that my grounding person to be that person. Probably has heard too much about my crush. Probably hears a lot more than they will ever want to hear about anything that goes on in his crazy mind. But is definitely, I guess you can say, kind of a father figure for them. Just with being in the gay community. So yeah.
Now, I have previously mentioned emotional weight. You bet your sweet can again. You're gonna bet your sweet bottom dollar that I am going to bring these characters in one shape, form, or another. I have so many fun plans for this. All right, so let me just make sure that I write this down. All right, Connor, you're up next. So, for the mighty wielder of the pen, who also happens to be a chef and can
Yep.
fight with their fists,
Yep.
who would this character have as an anchor?
So, Mikey, can I, as the wielder of a reality altering pen, have my anchor being be like Clippy from Microsoft Word? Is that okay? I mean, not Clippy. I have a different name in mind, but I was thinking about it. I'm like, okay, well, what would be like interesting, right? And like, I want to go with something that fits into like this mindset of what I have my page of notes and I have my tags and I have all of this and I have multiple song lyrics written down and the idea of like doing the impossible and changing the rules and all this other stuff. And I'm like, I think I would want like almost like an imaginary friend come to life kind of setup, if that fits within the world,
Ooh,
being able to
yes.
draw a thing and have this thing animate within a limited capacity and come out and be this kind of bastion for enablement and possibly like the temper, the negativity, the like impulsiveness that has to be like that. I don't know, like like a soundboard and be that backboard to push against, not necessarily go with, and sometimes go with when that's more interesting. But I would like I was thinking about it and like my kitten poked her head around my toolbox over there as I was thinking, and I'm like, oh, it'd be cute to do like a cat because that would be kind of fun, but maybe like a talking cat, and then that just kind of escalated into like, yeah, but a writer and what would a writer have and what would be like that side of things, and I'm like, well,
I'm al- I'm also imagining it too because this is going to be a warped 90s esque kind of era as well. I'm thinking that somehow you created a from your pen, you created like a magical Tamagotchi, and that is
yeah,
exactly what this is.
that's exactly it, right? Like it's a sketch of a cat named Carrot or something where it's just like this, like I have
Carrot.
to feed, like I have to draw food and be like, here you go. Now, please, can I tell you about my problems? And like, you should burn down the government. It's like, yes, I know that, but how do I do that? With matches. I don't like, I'm imagining this like really awful bad idea, Mikey, and if you enable me to do it, I would greatly appreciate it. But if that doesn't fit for the anchor idea, I don't know, I like it. I think an anchor can also be like too far, like you can have an
It's
anchor being that's too far for you and you have to be the responsible and to be all like, no, it's stupid to try and think that. So
your anchor is literally telling you to do it. Do
yeah,
it.
no, like that's yeah, like exactly. Like that's the kind of energy that I think would, I don't know, I think that would be interesting and like being able to find like solace in knowing that there's someone worse than you within the same room and that you have to then be the bigger person. I
Yeah.
think that's a different heat and I would kind of like to explore that if I could. So, can I have
So
a
I will
Tamagotchi?
I will say yes, we will create a Tamagotchi anchor
Okay.
for your character. Now, obviously, we're going to tweak it just a tiny bit because I
Yeah.
don't think Well, so what I will say is I think for your anchor, we will definitely lean into the chaotic, but not we'll do chaotic good instead of chaotic
Perfect.
evil.
Yeah,
So
no, I think that's
it
fantastic. I
will
think
push
that
you.
that fits.
It will just this Tamagotchi will just be blunt with you and like try to get you to do things that normally
Yeah,
is just it's just chaotic, but it also is to push you into a
yeah,
direction where it is going to be growth. So yeah, we will come up with a name for this Tamagotchi as Clippy, if you will, but that is going to be your anchor. So this is
beautiful.
going to
Thank
be
you.
fun. And with that, that concludes character creation. Hey, you know what? We did pretty good. We did knock it out in 2 hours, which is great because I promised that we promised you guys we'd be out at a reasonable time, and we will be.
Hey.
For Chris, it is Chris. You're in Eastern, right? Eastern Standard Time.
No, I'm Central, so
Oh,
it's
okay, so
only
it's
it's
only
only
11.
11
You're
here.
fine. All right,
And
cool.
it's a weekend.
That is also very fair as well. It is a Saturday, which does help a lot of this. Like 2 hours on a Saturday, I think we can do it. But
It
that
helps
is
and
gonna
also it
yeah.
doesn't help at
I
times.
mean, that is also true. But the fact that we meet every 2 weeks, or at least try every 2 weeks, we get to meet twice a month. So that's gonna be pretty good. So I think that is okay. Plus, also it gives me time to come up with evil ideas to throw at you. I'm just kidding. Or am I? No, I'm super excited. Character creation is one of my favorite aspects of any TTRPG. As much as I love the actual kickstart to the story, I love getting to create the characters because it also sets a foundation of where these characters starts and where we end up going with them. So, yeah, so far we have a Batman, we have a pirate, and we basically have the embodiment of any author that is going through it right now trying to create. So we have a
Yeah.
mighty pensman. I am excited to see what our final player JT comes up with. And knowing a bit about his personality, I really hope he ends up going towards what he actually does, which is leaning into those EDM raver vibes, which would be hilarious. But hey, you know what? I'm super excited. And I'm super excited to all of you watching out there to follow us along with this journey. So that is going to be it for our character creation tonight. I would like to thank my players, Connor and Chris, for giving up 2 hours of a Saturday to be able to do all this. And I am super excited to see what character choices they make with their characters. Will I probably regret it? As of right now, no, but give it like 5 minutes and we'll see how that goes. I'm just kidding. These two are fantastic players, and I cannot wait for the chaos we are about to embark on. It's going to be great. But that is going to officially end session 0, which we have titled Spark of Light. So when we come back with our next session, which is going to be Saturday, November 2nd, so in about 2 weeks or so, which is going to be fantastic, we will officially begin with episode 1, in which hopefully all of our players will be here in the same room, which is going to be fantastic. And we will officially begin the campaign with episode 1, entitled The Carnival of Illusions. So, I am your game master, Mikey. This has been Connor and Chris. And from myself, my players, and on behalf of Halfling Wizard Productions, remember, and I'm going to use my outro that I use for my wrestling podcast, you are important. You deserve to finish your story and let your freak flag, queer flag fry, so to speak. We will see you in 2 weeks for our first official session. But until then, sayonara, adios, and keep things queer. We'll see you later.
Thanks for joining us for this Halfling Wizard production. Make sure to come back again soon to see what happens next. Right here, where adventure comes to life.